as I get older and realize that there's some core values that infinite growth available from wine. Like, you can't know everything.
I'm still in Woodinville. It's just a wonderful area, and I'm here with Jason Gorski, and Jason is the Vice President of Winemaking at DeLille Cellars. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Yeah, it's a busy weekend, but it's hanging in there. Yeah, having fun.
Everybody's here for auction, so it's going to be a real interesting weekend, and today is Friday, so things are just kind of getting geared up last night.
Yep.
And a lot of fun. So are you personally in any way involved with auction this year?
Yeah, we've been participating pretty much since the beginning as a business, so public barrel auction, private barrel auction, the picnic, the gala, media in town, distributors in town, a bunch of different stakeholders. So yeah, lots of people kind of celebrate Washington wine and support the kids. That's in Children's Hospital and WSU. It's a cool tradition, and it's always 2-3 weeks before harvest starts, and I think a lot of which is maybe a heavy-ish lift for winemakers, but it's kind of cool for us to get together. We end up with a bunch of different vineyard managers, vineyard owners, and winemakers all together, sort of celebrate Washington wine all together. It's kind of it's a cool little kickoff.
So how many vintages do you have under your belt?
Maths is hard. I think this is my 25th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started when you were like 12 or something?
Yeah, exactly,
like
yeah.
Well, that's pretty impressive, because you do look like a young guy. And so what was your wine journey? I mean, were you in a wine family? Were you bitten by the bug?
Definitely bit by the bug. And not a wine family. I always say a family of Anheuser-Busch and Jack Daniels.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, but I wasn't exposed to fine wine until I was dating someone in college that her family, food and wine was part of just what they did. And so started with summers over there for dinner, and we would drink white wine together while we were prepping, and then have great red wine with dinner. I always say I was using my fake ID to buy the white wine. And I just didn't know they liked French wine. I didn't know anything, so I just started reading, and that was I got bit by the bug. I just like every book I could get my hands on, and I definitely didn't realize it at the time, but now as I get older and realize that there's some core values that infinite growth available from wine. Like, you can't know everything.
No.
And it's that's actually kind of awesome. Like, just to have a lifelong journey and the meandering path of what do I want to learn about now. So it started trying to learn every region, be able to really just be worldly. And then by the time I graduated, I knew I wanted to try my hand at making wine. So just went after it, and and over the course of it, it's like, I want to learn how to make wine. Now I want to learn how to make great wine. Now I want to learn how to build a brand, be a better leader, learn the business side. Like, it's really just infinite growth. My mentor in college, I remember asking him, we were having drinks at the country club kind of things, and he bought me a gin and tonic for my 22nd birthday, and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm such a different person than I was a year ago. Does that ever change? He was in his 80s, and he was just like, he took a big swig, and he said, not if you're living life right. And I was like, I think that's something that, for 20 almost 30 years ago, it's like, wow, yeah, I think I live that every day now. It's like, okay, well, we should all be able to lean into that as human beings. How we enjoy wine, what drives us day to day, all the different challenges that we have, what makes us feel fulfilled. It's a journey. It changes all the time. So let it,
So you're training in college. You said biology?
Yeah, I ended up with a religion degree as well. So 2 religions. I would say the religion one's not as applicable, but it speaks a lot to why I ended up sort of in wine anyway. Is that program at my college ran more like a sociology department, and so it didn't necessarily feel like studying religion and spirituality. It felt more like learning about different regions of the world and the beliefs that come out of that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I end up, and I wrote papers on, the healing property, the beliefs and the healing properties of foods and in Asia. And it's like, yeah, made total sense. I was a wrestler in college, loved food but couldn't eat it because I had to make weight all the time. And then started fermenting things and learning about how people all over the world approach food, wine, and gathering, and realized I can make food for a living. It was like, okay, yeah. I'm going to give this a try, and found out right away. I mean, my dad hasn't given me a ton of advice that's really followed all the way through. The one piece he did tell me as I was graduating college was that he really thought that I needed to go do something with my hands. He knew I needed to stay busy, and I wrestled for 20 years, and it just, there's a physical aspect, like needed that outlet, and farming and making wine are incredibly physical. So, maybe I don't need it as much in my 40s as I did in my 20s, but well, maybe I do as I pat my belly, right? But yeah, it was totally right. I needed to be able to get down and dirty. So, hopped on a tractor and got in a cellar right away, straight out of college. That journey was just crazy. One bit of advice that I got from through my mentor, one of his friends, was to jump in before you have bills and before you have to adult, basically. Before you have to worry about money, before you have a wife, a kids, family, whatever. Then I had an intern that first year who was from France, and at the end of the experience, she said, I know I want to make wine now. And I think about that. I was 22 years old, and I still use that as my marker of have I created that intern experience? If we can, and here at DeLille, we want to be part of that community. We could carry more people full time. We could go through harvest with basically not bring anybody else on. We could do that, but we purposely don't. We purposely want to be a place where people are either transitioning or just finished, or trying to figure it out. And in certain places, I think I also want to be very, very clear with interns when they come in. You go to Burgundy and it's like wine camp. An employee of mine that done Burgundy, and he was just like, oh man, all we did was eat. We'd work for a couple hours, and then we just eat and drink. He's like, this isn't like that. I'm like, yeah, this isn't like that. No. And I think we try to be very clear with people. We're a mid-sized winery. We have to be efficient. We're distributed. We need to be efficient and cost-effective and all these. But at the end of it, I want people to know, yes, this is for me. There's easier ways. One way or the other, people should figure it out by the end of a harvest, and you either love it or you don't. Here at DeLille, because we have strong DTC presence and wine club in this beautiful space that we're in, it's not quite carte blanche. I put the framework around it, but myself and the winemaking team can kind of do whatever we want. There's in terms of, if there's something that's really appealing to us as winemakers, there's not a lot of barriers to stopping us from trying to do a wine concept, a wine making technique, a new vineyard source. We're Bordeaux inspired, but we were the first winery in Washington to focus on blending, and it was all Bordeaux varietals.
So let's talk about DeLille, because we really haven't covered that. First of all, just kind of like a little housekeeping, how many cases do you guys make?
So we have a sister brand, Metier, you can see to the side there. With that, we're I always say end market, or because we've been growing, and
just roughly.
Roughly, it's with Metier, it's called about 75,000 cases.
Okay, that's good. Decent size.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
We've been larger, but current marketplace, we're pulling it back a little bit. Yeah, when I got here, we were 8,000 cases. So in
significant.
14 and a half years, we've gone from 8,000 to 80,000. Let's go.
As I said before, we're here in Woodinville. Really a beautiful space and a unique place to be. All your production is done here, correct?
Yeah, the Metier projects moved off campus about 2 years ago. We maybe a little bit long. Oh, geez. Yeah, we started it here during COVID, so I think that project was based around accessibility and scalability. Yeah. And during COVID, we didn't know what was going to happen, so we started that project here, and I want to say that went external about 2023. So for DeLille proper, all those wines are made here, and then for Metier, it's with custom winemaking partners in Eastern Washington.
Do you own your own vineyards?
Mostly it's contracted, and really, really long-term relationships at that. So we own a little bit of ground on Red Mountain, so some Syrah and some Cabernet there. But even just for the DeLille, which is about 50,000 cases a year, that vineyard's only going to supply, 4,000 cases or something like that, a little bit less. It's all in Eastern Washington, and with vineyard partners that are as much as old as the winery. And some of those relationships actually are older than the winery. So some of the owners were brokering grapes with one of those vineyard partners years before DeLille was ever founded. So back in late 80s, early 90s. The winery was founded in 92.
So who were the owners?
Well, the original owners were Greg and his father, Charles Lill, which is where the DeLille comes from. Jay Soloff, who was sort of the sales, and Chris Upchurch, who was the founding winemaker. And then in 2013, they sold part of the business to to an investor. Then that's really kind of what gave us that room to grow. And they were integral part of the business for over 20 years. So since that divestiture, they've stepped back, but well earned, right? Chris has his own brand. Greg continues to operate his business out of the original winery, and I think Jay's just enjoying retirement a little bit. Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, well earned. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure every now and then you get some kind of wacky, crazy advice people saying, I think you should try something like that. I mean, is there a particular example you can give?
I can't. I mean, I'm sure I have, but I think it's to me, it's a little bit like wine reviews. If you don't like it, just ignore it, right?
Yeah.
In general, for accolades, it's better advice. When I first joined, Jay Soloff told me I got an 89 for a rosé or whatever, and he was like, "Stop! Like, so what? You got it. Somebody else gave it 90 plus. Ignore the ones that we're only going to talk about the good ones anyway. So let it go, And I really internalize that because it's, I don't believe in perfection. And it's one of the things, like talking to our assistant winemaker yesterday and just realizing how deep that cultural understanding that there's nothing wrong with talking openly about where you could get better. It removes any stigma of making a mistake. We're going to win or lose together, and we can really debrief, do a postmortem on every single thing that we do, and speak openly and honestly about how we can get better as individuals, as teams, equipment, as a business. Like on the winemaking side, there is zero hesitation to share how we can get better, and it doesn't come with. It's maybe obsession with improvement, but it's not obsession with perfection, and it's definitely it's a beautiful thing to go back and forth between the business world, and I do a bunch of other things here: safety, security, fulfillment, inventory, logistics, you name it. And then you just this beautiful little team of winemakers that are completely unafraid. And I say that I use that word on purpose. No one is afraid. They are there together, shoulder to shoulder. We're going to win together. They're going to lose together. It's just a privilege to work with people that think that way. No, there's nothing but ways to get better, and we should be thinking about them. We should be talking about them. And culturally, it's if you're not willing to be excellent, you're not going to last. You're going to know. You're going to feel like the odd person out. That's the cost of admission. And we share that, but we also share gratitude to one another for that. We know that is the expectation. And it takes a lot of hard work, and as long as you're grateful for it and feel that from one another, you can go really far.
There's a really beautiful tasting room, and I'm curious if people would like to come to taste here, do they have to make an appointment? Can they just come on by? How does it work here at DeLille?
Yeah, it's better to make a reservation for the busier times. But yeah, we do leave room for walk-ins. Second and third floor here, wine club members only. It's designed so you walk in and you can see where you can't go unless you want to become a wine club member. But we're all about accessibility. We really want to share wine with the greater world. So the building we're sitting in was actually where the bottling tanks were for Redhook Brewery. This was built probably about 35 years ago. And back in 2004, when I moved out here, we would drink beer on the lawn out there and watch movies. So it's really cool for me personally to have it be a hub for the community to come and gather again.
What is your website?
At DeLilleCellars.com, DeLillecellars.com, all one word.
Excellent. Jason, this has been a total blast talking to you. I love your candid attitude towards this.
I love your philosophy. The whole point of wine for me, that old philosophy that, I was with the guy with the French accent that Taste of On, making it really, really what you don't know. Right. I totally reject it. That's not what, I don't think that's ancient. So you want to say I'm traditional, but no, that bullshit needs to go away. That needs to go away. That's not what this is about. We make wine to share. Yeah. It's about community, and it's all about community, and there's no room for that in my philosophy.
I agree. Very much appreciate your time today on this rainy Friday morning. So you take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers.